So one of the questions that came back after what I just posted was, how do I, it's another video, how do I use Nasdaq Futures and SPX and ES to find key levels on QQQ, and then with SPY, and why does that matter? So I'll give you an example, and let's look at last week. So you might look at last week and say, look, why did we have such an aggressive? Let's look at the 1 hour on both, because then you'll really see it. You'll look at 314, and your reaction would be, why in heck did we have such an aggressive move off of 314? Well, look to the right, 13,000 on NQ, which is Nasdaq Futures. This is how I use it. What I'll do is I'll see the same time frame. I line them up next to each other. I identify these key areas of support and resistance. Most importantly, these major areas like whole cycle numbers, all-time highs, all-time lows. And I just map that up to what we're seeing on QQQ. It really is that simple, but it is so powerful. And now let me show you, it's already up, there we go. Let me show you how I did the same thing with ES, which is ES is mini futures for S&P. Sorry, every time I reload this is what Thinkorswim does. I do not like Thinkorswim. It is a royal, you know what, but for now I continue to use it because I trade with TD Ameritrade. So apologies for this nonsense. All right. So we look at SPY. Actually, I'm just going to re-record this. So one of the questions that I got from my last piece of content was, can I slow down and explain how I use Nasdaq Futures, which is NQ, to identify key levels for QQQ and why it matters? So last week, here's an example. Last week, so one of the questions that I got when I created my that barrage of content with all the watches for, one of the questions I got when I posted the content for the watch list for this week was, can I slow down and show how I use the Nasdaq futures to identify key levels on QQQ, and then similarly with SPY, what I do and why it matters. So as an example, if we look here last week at this level of 314, you were probably asking, like, why was 314 such a major level? We bounced really hard off of it the 2 weeks prior, or a week prior, sorry. And then this week we came down, bounced, and the final time when we bounced off of it on that 314 area at the market open on Thursday, we really took off, and we had about a 1.5% move on the day. So look to your right, 13,000 on Nasdaq futures. It's really that simple. These key levels are going to move QQQ. So all I do is same time frame on the 1 hour, make sure they're lined up visually. And I just make sure the zones match. And that's all that I do, because that's what gives me levels. And you can see, we saw the same thing last week. You might say, like, why is 406 such a key level? Is 4,100 on? Yes. It wasn't the same. Like, you can see, it doesn't always match up. It was about it was 4070, roughly 4070, 4075 on SPX, but it doesn't matter. They don't need to match up. All right. What matters is I know it's a major level. It's 4,100 on ES, or it's 4,100 or 4,000 on SPX. And I'm going to make sure that that level is marked in SPY. And that's how I do, that's how I use futures. And then for SPY, how I use SPX to create those levels on an intraday basis. If you like this content, I always forget to do this. If you like this content, if there's anything else you want to learn, hit subscribe, join the group, drop a comment below. When I create this content, I'm doing it to help others. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. So it's really helpful for me is to know if you're getting value from this content and what you want to learn next.